last but not least, we have Dr. Bud Livers. He's a retired Navy surface warfare officer, and he's going to talk to us, appropriately enough, about lasts.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The story I'm about to share with you changed my life. There was a young mother, and she had her 5-year-old son, and they had just seen the movie Peter Pan. And there was a board on the grass in the backyard, a plank, and they were playing walk the plank. And little Billy would take a stick and point it at Mom, and she'd stand down there and he'd say, "Walk the plank, Mommy, walk the plank." And Mom would say, "Don't make me walk the plank. Walk the plank, Mommy, you have to walk the plank." "No, I can't walk the plank." After the third time, she'd hold her nose, she'd say, "Ah!" She'd jump off into the plank into the ocean, much to the joy of Billy. And then they'd switch roles. And then it was Billy's turn to walk the plank. "Walk the plank, Billy." "Mommy, don't make me walk the plank." "Walk the plank." "No, I don't want to walk the plank." "You have to walk the plank." And he'd hold his nose and he'd jump. Well, this game continued a couple of times, 3 or 4 times. And then Billy says, again. You know how kids get in a game, they want to do it again. And Mom said, "You know what? Mommy's got to go fix dinner. You can stay out here and play walk the plank." So she goes into the kitchen and the window looks out over the backyard and she's watching it. He does it maybe 2 more times, but walk the plank is a 2-person game, right? Yeah. So he wanders off, does something else. A couple of days later, they're in the car, driving back from the park. Bam! Traffic accident. The car was T-boned. Billy was killed. After the funeral, Mom goes home. She's standing at the kitchen window and she's looking out, and the plank is still out there. She thinks about the last time that she played walk the plank with her son. And she remembers how he said, "Can't we do it again?" And she said, "No, I've got something else I have to do." And she got to wondering what was really that important that I couldn't play walk the plank one more time with my boy. So that story got me to thinking about the lasts. Lasts often happen to us, and we don't know that they're the last, do we? Sometimes we won't know until months later, years later, that was the last. When was the last time we played Chutes and Ladders or Monopoly as a family? If I had known that last time we played it, and my son said, "Can we go one more round?" If I had known that was going to be the absolute last time, I probably would have said, "Yeah, let's go another round." But I didn't. Or how about the last time I held my son's hand as he was walking across the street? Would I have cherished that moment a little bit more if I knew that from now on he's not going to let me hold his hand? Or the time that I tied my son's shoes, the flotsam and the jetsam of life. Not with the idea of let's be sad because these things are passing, but the idea of let's live every possible moment, live it to the fullest, because we don't know if we're going to come this way again. So I started thinking about my own lasts and asking people. One of my friends told me one of her lasts was the last time she put her son down. And she didn't realize that was the last. You carry your kids, you put them down, and you're never going to pick them up again. That was the last. So I'm thinking about the last, and they fall into 3 categories. There's the lasts that I'm glad it's the last. I really want this to be over with. And then there are lasts that just kind of happened to you, and you didn't realize they were going to be the last. And then there's the 3rd category of lasts, and those are the lasts that you planned to be the last. So I have 3 sons. The 2 older ones were 5 and 6. And it's time for me to give them the talk. I was dreading the talk, okay? But I'm the dad, and I got to give them the talk about the birds and the bees. And so I get my 2 oldest boys, and I sit them on the bed, and I go through the biology, and I talk about mommy parts and daddy parts and how it all interacts, and how babies are born. And I just can't wait for this speech to get over with, but I know I got to give this talk. And my oldest boy, he's sitting there, he's watching it, and his eyes are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he says, "You did that to Mommy?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And then the second son speaks up and says, "Not only that, he did it 3 times." I was so glad that was the last of that. A couple of years later, I'm working at at a college, and it's graduation time, and I've been asked to be the master of ceremonies for the graduation. And they're playing the CD with pomp and circumstance. It was a small college. We couldn't afford an orchestra. And the music gets into about 8 measures. The kids are walking down the aisle. We're in an auditorium, maybe 600, 700 people in it. And the music stops after 8 measures. Well, you know, suddenly it goes quiet. You gotta have pomp and circumstance when you're walking in, right? So they restarted the CD, plays another 6 or 8 measures again, and it stops again. My gosh, this thing is falling apart. How can we have a graduation if we can't even start it with the music right? What's it gonna mean for the rest of it? When it stopped for the 3rd time, I knew, as a master of ceremonies, I had to take charge. The president's there, the faculty's there, so I step up to the microphone, and I start singing Pomp and Circumstance. Now we all know the words to Pomp and Circumstance, right? Bum, 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 bum. And within moments of my starting singing, Mom started singing, Dad singing, grandparents singing, students singing. We are rocking this auditorium, all singing Pomp and Circumstance. The kids are marching down, they're proud, they've got a little extra pep in their step, they come on in, we get all the students in, and then the music ends, and then someone says, well, wait a second, the faculty still has to come in yet. So what do? I lead them in the 2nd verse of Pomp and Circumstance. Remarkably like the first, by the way. We get the faculty in, everybody sits down, and I know that this is going to be a great graduation ceremony. For some reason, which I never did figure out, though, it was my last time I was ever asked to be MC at a graduation ceremony. So sometimes last, we don't know why they're the last. And then there's the last that we plan. My middle son, he's 12 years old. We'd been watching a movie, and he is passed out on the couch. He didn't make it to the end. And I'm about to do the dad thing, you know, son, it's time to get up to go to bed. He's going to say, why do I have to get up? I'm sleeping. I'll say, no, you're on the couch. Couches are for sitting, not for sleeping. Bed is for sleeping. And I'm going to go into the full-blown dad mode, you know, and march this kid up the steps. And I got to thinking, you know, I really used to enjoy carrying my son to bed. And I'm looking at this kid on the couch, and I'm saying, I'll bet you I could still do it. But tonight's my last chance, because he's going to grow another 3 inches tonight, and I'm not going to be able to pick him up tomorrow. So I'm looking at this kid, and he's all sacked out, and I get down on my knees, I scoop this kid up, and I'm staggering down through the room, and I'm trying not to slam the poor kid's head on the door for him as we go through. I make the turn and go to the steps, and I'm going up the steps, and you know, the little picket fence thing, as this kid's head is bouncing, and he's dead to the world. Pull out the kid in bed, take off his shoes, pull the blanket up, took my son to bed. I knew it was going to be the last time I would ever put my son to bed. We get up the next morning, we're eating our Cheerios, and he looks at me and he says, Dad, I remember watching the movie and I fell asleep, but I woke up in bed. I don't know how that happened. And then he said, did you put me to bed? Now, I don't know, that's kind of a loaded question, you know, what kind of response is. So it was kind of like a, yeah. And then his face lit up brighter than the sunshine coming through the window. He said, way to go, Dad. Give me a thumbs up. Dad nailed it, yes. Got one of them. The last time I was ever going to be able to carry my son to bed. So the point of the story is that life is full of lasts. Not that we should mourn the last, the passing of the last, but the fact that we should celebrate all the lasts. So my question to you is, what things are on your personal list of lasts? And is it possible that this story could change your life? Thank you.